I
Hello.
mute.
Good
I
morning.
muted
There
my.
you go.
I muted myself. Well, good morning. This is live, so
Yeah.
live. It's live
Morning.
We're
performance.
live.
We're doing. It's how
Maybe
it works,
happy
right?
Thanksgiving. We don't
So,
know.
good morning, everyone. Good morning, Megan, Marianne, and Justin. Thank you for
Hello.
joining me today. We were really kind of a cool stream today. A little step back, kind of following a little bit of the strategic thinking that we do a bit with our clients and some of that. And part of what we want to talk about is uh, the processes and procedures. But before I get into it, I just want to say we're on episode 49 of our live streams, which is
Hey.
unbelievable. We've been doing this for since March. We think it's just a great activity, and we're really happy. We're getting great reviews from people and feedback. So, just want to say, awesome job, everyone. Really appreciate it. Matt, you're in the background doing your thing, controlling the board. Just want to say thank you for episode 49, and be ready for episode 50 next week. So, with that note, I'm just going to kick into it and say, um, you know, one of the things that really causes a lot of confusion in especially small businesses is the idea of processes versus procedures. And unfortunately, the classic words mean things, but there is a difference, and they're using it interchangeably. So, Justin, Marianne, Megan, can you walk us through the difference in processes and procedures?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Basically, I mean, we do want to differentiate the two. Let's talk about process is basically a series of related tasks. So it's not necessarily the step by step. It's more of the overall goal that you're trying to do. So the process is I need to get from point A to point B, not what are all the bullet points on the way.
Right.
Right. And then a procedure is more of those bullet points. It really is the lining it up and making sure people know what steps need to be taken to get this thing done. So both are really important, but both have their own separate,
Yeah. I think
categories.
to expand on your analogy there, the process is, I'm gonna go to the store. I'm gonna pick up milk and cereal. I'm gonna come home. I'm gonna make a bowl of cereal and I'm gonna eat it. The procedures are I'm gonna, stand up, get dressed, walk out the door, and then each of
Right.
those have their own procedure. Start the car, to
Key
put the
phone,
seatbelt
mask,
on.
wallet.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly,
all of
exactly.
that stuff. Yeah,
The mask,
exactly.
exactly. And you kind of do
Yeah.
your self pat
Your
down
cat,
as
your check.
if your pockets, depending on how you carry your things. But and the thing is, there's always that delicate balance between too much procedures where it
Mhm.
becomes stifling or people stop thinking versus
Mhm.
the idea of knowing, well, hey, we're doing this for this reason and this is wrong. People aren't computers, right? They're humans. They can think mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and it's important that you can adjust them, as it works to your business, because like you
right,
said, the procedures can bog people down. And what you think is like, let's make sure we're hitting all these checkpoints might eventually just become, yeah, I already did it, but now I have to check off like 30 things and take twice
right.
as long. So it is sort of a balance of, making sure that it is important, but that it's also not
Yeah.
preventing people from
Right.
working.
Exactly. It's really important to be very repeatable. We want
Yes.
repeatable outcomes if you had to really
Yeah.
dial it
Honestly,
in.
that's really the biggest part of it, is to be able to have that prescribed result, that prescribed solution or outcome, where saying this is what we want the end result to be, and this is the way we're going to get from not having that result to having that result. And
Mhm.
Right.
yeah, I mean, in terms of stuff that we do, we build a process and a procedure all the time, and we modify them all the time as well too, just for stuff that we
Yeah.
do as we find, hey, this thing is working, this thing isn't working. But the important part of it is that the result that we want, we know what the result is that we want to have, and we're filling in the pieces to get to that result.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, the way that we do it, we want to make sure that everyone's getting excellent service and that our techs know the right way to do things so they don't have to be second guessing themselves and everyone who works at our company. But at the same time, the flexibility, I mean, we have people in a lot of different verticals. So sometimes, if we are working with people in healthcare, we need to think about HIPAA and make sure that's part of our process and procedure that we don't need to do for the people in like PR and marketing. So
Right. Yeah. And those subtle differences is that kind of experience, from doing it and building out the things that need to be done for that particular vertical or that particular client. So it's really important to do that. So, and really part of it too is setting expectations, right? We expect an outcome after doing all of these things. Like we have a, you want to make sure that what you're doing kind of gets what you think is supposed to happen. That's always a scary, if it doesn't happen that way, that's pretty scary. You're like, what? Why didn't that work?
Yeah,
That sort of thing. So I think that's a really critical piece is that kind of expected outcomes for putting this input in and following it, but not following it to the point that you're not thinking. That's always a delicate balance, I think, as I said before. So,
and it's important for all businesses, especially small businesses. And we were talking before that, like,
right.
A lot of people know their business, and then they have to put in the processes and procedures. But I mean, we also are a small to medium business, and we have our own processes and procedures,
That's
and
right.
we have those processes and procedures for our clients for the services that we offer.
Right.
So do you guys want to talk a little bit about the stuff that we do in the background, sort of our toolkit, the best IT, you don't have to actually see them for the break fix stuff, hopefully,
right.
just for the innovation, which we'll talk about next.
It's true. You're right, Marion. The magic of it is when it just sort of works and you don't think about it. It's like turning on the switch and turning off the switch and the power turns on, the light turns on, the light turns off. And that's the kind of the expected outcome. You turn the switch on and it fizzles. You're like, well, that's not good. Don't burn down the house. So I mean, I think, and part of how you do that in a very complex environments is by having really strong tools that you use proactively. So, Justin, you and I kind of live in those tools day in, day out. We all do, actually. But, maybe we can give some idea of what the underpinnings are. So
yeah, absolutely. The first sort of category of tool that we use is called a remote monitoring and management tool, or RMM. I mean, everything you're going to find is going to have a nice little three-letter acronym. But this one, RMM, is remote monitoring and management. And the idea with these sets of tools are they are software, and refer to it as an agent that would get installed onto a server or workstation or computer or really any type of device, and it pulls in information from that device, lets us apply policy and management to that device, and lets us provide access and support for that device. And using those types of tools, we can do things. I mean, the simple ones like doing remote support, getting into a remote session onto somebody's workstation, but also things in the background like making sure the patches are being run, or monitoring to know that hey, the disk is 10% has 10% free space left, and then have it run some kind of cleanup process and then open a ticket, or things along those lines. A lot of proactive maintenance can be performed with those tools just in the background to keep things running smoothly.
Right.
It's like a subset of RMM that we're seeing more of is called mobile device management, or MDM. And that is essentially the exact same thing as RMM, except for mobile devices. So not quite as full featured as a Windows or a Mac machine or a server, but like iPhone, Android phone, those sorts of things.
And a fleet of iPads.
Right.
Fleet of iPads, exactly.
And MDM you generally use if you are providing company-owned equipment, just like you're providing laptops as a company-owned equipment to employees. What I think is more common, you see, is what's called mobile application management, or MAM, M-A-M. And that's where rather than managing the entire device, because if it's a personal device, you don't want to, like, I don't want to have access to your photos and your texts and any of that stuff. I don't want to know any of that, both from the, compliance and privacy, and
personal,
all the
liability,
I really don't want to. All I want to do is make sure that my corporate info is protected on that device. And mobile application management locks in those applications.
So that's like email and
email and files and any of the other
cloud-based file storage.
If you have a an application that, specific to your company. Maybe your company has, this is an app that we use for internal resources. You want to lock that app down, and that's
Mhm.
mobile application management. All
Right.
three of
Right.
those really fall into that RMM category of
Sure.
these tools that do the grunt work of maintaining fleets of equipment.
Right. And I think the other piece that's really critical, I think that for a lot of folks is that these tools allow us to have a strong inventory of the systems. And, kind of like anything you do starts with like knowing what you have, be it
Yeah.
from cybersecurity or insurance. Like if you have some incident at your office or something gets stolen. I mean, many a time over the years we've gotten an email like 8:30 in the morning, like, hey, my laptop got stolen last night at an event or something. Can you let us know what the serial number is, and can remote wipe it? Can you take care of it? So that's kind of like a real practical piece of that inventory and or what the RMM tool can do. So, unfortunately, over the years, we've seen many machines get stolen, and
Like in cabs in the
yeah,
before
Yeah.
times when people took
before
cabs.
before times, airplanes, aircraft has,
Sure.
Stefan has, I know plenty of stories about that.
But yes, Seven used to work at the airlines, and so he has some. He was shocked when people leave behind. So,
Yep. But I think that ties nicely into the another tool that we use in the background for really documented information management and asset management. That really a system that we can, for each of our clients and for ourselves and for general knowledge, for internal knowledge base, but also specifically for each client, we have a secure repository of all the information we need to provide support. And I mean, this includes everything from, a breakdown of what equipment they have, what servers they have, what software they use, what the licenses for those things, where they're getting those licenses from, what the passwords are. And all of this is in a system that is secure, locked in, two-factor and encrypted and all that good stuff. But the idea being that any of us can look up that information really quickly for any person, any client that's calling in, and know what those things are, as long as it's something that we're aware of and working through and falls into the support we're providing. We have all the information about it that we need to help.
Yeah, and that actually really helps us help you when we're like onboarding a client, is we can get that RMM tools on and have everything provided, that we can see the age and the specs and what needs upgrading, what we want to make recommendations to, instead of actually having to like physically check out each computer and all that stuff. So it's very knowledge is power.
Very important, very critical for the IT documentation is like the lifeblood of how you work. I mean, the combination of two tools are so critical, and I think in a lot of people don't see them because they really are behind the scenes. But I think the next tool is really, our next kind of phase of tool is really important, and some of our customer facing tools. When JP, you can walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, so the biggest of our customer facing tools, the tools that people on a daily basis will interact with, is called a professional services automation platform, or the
These
three-letter
names.
acronym PSA. PSA is more than just a ticket system. The ticket system is built into that. It's also the project management system. It's also the contact management system. It's also the account system. It's basically the engine that we use to manage the relationship that we have with our clients. Everything from what our billing. I mean, our billing is run through that, but also all the tickets that come in, all of the internal work that we do is tracked through there. And for ticketing, for that kind of work, there's time tracking built into it. There's automation built into it. So things like for our ticketing, the way we have it set up is that when a ticket is assigned to a particular person, the person who is open that ticket gets a notification automatically that this is happening. And there are other notifications that run through, and there are internal notifications that say like, hey, this ticket has been idle for X amount of time, you need to look at this and update the client, and those sorts of things all run through that PSA.
It's a critical piece of the puzzle. It is really the heart or soul of almost any kind of MSP or service organization. And if it's not implemented well, it really does hinder the company's operations. And I think we kind of continually reintegrate and rebuild ours because it's such, obviously things change over time and your workflows change and just things are evolving. So we always are constantly just implementing new methodologies within the system as they implement new things. And it's really a really tight relationship. And, it's like much like a manufacturing company will have an ERP system for, tracking supply chains and that sort of stuff. This is how we do our supply chain. If you think about what we do is delivering service. So it's very similar and really important. So
yeah, I mean, it's like it's a huge part for Valiant internally of like moving from someone being a prospect to a customer to a client, because we can see just sort of the whole past of the client in the PSA. So it's a huge tool for everyone internally, and then gives the client somewhere to go as well.
Right.
And even for long-term clients, it gives us the ability to look through their history of what's been happening with them, and we can use that to inform decisions about what we need to do. We can look and see that, hey, this particular client has regularly been opening tickets about this thing. What can we do to fix that thing so that problem goes away? Or, what can we do? Is it a matter of they need new internet, new computers, more training, different software, all those things? We can figure that out and then present that to a client. And I think that also ties into the next piece. The way that our customers interact with that information is through our client portal, which pulls information from a bunch of different places and presents the useful bits of that information to customers. So obviously ticketing in there, where you can view open past tickets and create new tickets. But more than that, deeper into that, there is that inventory that George was talking about is in the client portal. So any of our customers can look and see what their fleet of devices and fleet of machines looks like. We can do almost like an intranet within the portal. So if you've got 6 SaaS web applications that your organization uses, put all that into the portal as bookmark links straight from there, and set it up so that here's where you go. You log in here, and then you can click these links to go to all the places.
Justin, that people have more than 6 SaaS applications deployed. Come on now. Shut YT, you're out there. We know you. We have to. That's a whole other conversation about SaaS application management. But the more you can give people a destination to work out of, the less possibility they'll have of, or at least you can have a approved list of equipment or approved list of applications, and kind of give. And I think one of the things that, Marianne, I'm sure you see this all the time in the training department, people really don't utilize the tools that they have fully.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And that's one way that you can, first of all, you can see everything that you have. And then also, I mean, you can ask questions, you can directly open a ticket about it, you can request training. I mean, in some cases, we even put little tutorials on the portal. Most of that stuff is publicly available on our knowledge base, but we can have little tutorials in the customer portal as well. So make sure people are adopting the practices that you want them to.
I also love the portal. Like a lot of IT is overwhelming. It's hard. It's scary to look at, and sometimes scary to really take in how big it is and how many tools you do have and what you're not utilizing. And the portal is such an accessible place for our clients to start.
And we're talking a lot about the features for every user at our clients, and these are things that everybody from the top of the top to your part-time intern can get a hold of, as long as they're registered with Valiant. But we also have some great tools for the decision makers. And I know that we are going to, sometime in early 2021, have one of our VCIOs go deeper into this. But I think, George, you might wanted to talk a little bit about our planner.
Sure. One of the core tools we use when we're working with our clients is to build a visual representation of their of their IT roadmap and spend and what they're looking to spend next year. Much like anything else, IT is a fairly expensive thing to invest in. It's probably one, it's on any company's line item. It kind of sits out there by itself, much like as a critical expense. And so we really want to maximize our customers' ability to utilize what they have and visualize it. So we put together in our portal, there's a pretty fairly robust 4-quarter planner that we can put out as tiles, and you can look at it here. And and basically, and what's nice as well is that it's not overwhelming amount of information of like a lot of words or a lot of. It's just like, hey, this is the thing or object or process or thing we need to put in place to achieve a certain goal. And what we found is that people who utilize the planner extensively have better outcomes because we can understand what they're doing in their business, and we can then allocate the proper resources, build the proper solutions. I mean, Justin and I and Megan a lot as well spend hours developing solutions to customers, and if the customer knows about it before we develop it, it's a much better, we have a much better chance of them adapting it, and B, that they can align it properly to what their business goal is. One of the biggest problems IT always has suffered, and this is the kind of like working in the server closet versus working in the boardroom, is that you don't know what's happening in the business, and then you just start making random suggestions like, well, I read in this article, or I think we need to have this, but you're really not understanding what's happening, and we see that all the time. So
I think, the great example of that, or concrete example of that, is the difference between having that regular communication back and forth so that we can say things like, okay, the office lease is up in, a year and a half. Let's start figuring out and planning. This is what a move would look like. These are the things we'd have to take into consideration versus renewing your lease.
Right.
Versus the, hey, by the way, we're moving in 3 months. What do we need to do for that?
I'll even take 3 months. I know the one that gets us is that, hey, by the way, we signed a new sublet next week and we got to move. Sorry. Got that?
Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry. So, and really what we want, and that can be very disruptive, and the move is a huge one. But even simpler things like just utilizing just getting the most out of your subscription services, or really utilizing the phone system you have. I mean, so many people spend thousands of dollars a month on phone systems, and they're barely scratching the surface of what it can do for them. So, and they're renewing. So really we want to understand all the pieces so that we can deliver that more tightly designed result. And then we have a gauge to gauge ourselves against if we're doing what needs to be done for them.
So, yeah, I think that goes nicely with what you said earlier, George, about the IT budget being this sometimes this elephant in the room. And we did a couple of previous live streams. We talked about tech debt, those things, and some of the great ways to stay ahead of that is to figure out what things what your first. I mean, if we follow the process and procedure, guys, first figure out what the end result you want is, and to do that, be informed of what your goals are. Then from that, figure out, okay, what are the tools and things that you need in order to accomplish that? What do you already have? Where are you spending where you don't need to be? Where are you not spending where you need to be? And figure that piece out. And in some cases, it is as simple as saying like, well, you're paying for 3 different things. All 3 of those things do the same thing. Let's pick one, consolidate. And now your monthly spend goes down. Now you can afford to do this other thing that will improve productivity by doing this. And all that comes out of having that 4-quarter roadmap and just seeing everything out there. Like, this is what's out there. How can we move things to make it work?
And we haven't even touched on consolidating and containing from a security perspective, which we're not going to even touch here because that's its own special. Put that in a box and put that aside because that's.
I mean, we have touched on it before. So if you do go to our YouTube channel, we have a lot of stuff about shadow IT and things like that. If you're interested, we have it.
But exactly. But in terms of tools and process, unfortunately, people look at a lot of cybersecurity as this like I buy a tool, I solve a problem, and it's like it's better analog is diet and exercise, because it's like you go to the doctor's like, you probably should stop smoking, and you might want to start, cut down a little bit on the carbs or whatever your doctor tells you. And but people are like, I'll take this pill. But cybersecurity is very much a very similar thing. So we'll get that. We'll get deeper in that and the process, procedure, and tools later. So and we talked earlier, this was supposed to be a 20-minute stream, and it's a 27-minute stream. So we can't help ourselves. Just get so excited about this stuff. The enthusiasm is palpable. Thank you. That's a great word. So I think this kind of like, I know we can keep talking for hours on it, but just to kind of put a pin in it, process procedure tools, they're so important, but you really want to put them together in a way that is fleshed out with expertise and knowing how to use them. And the technology is getting, interestingly enough, the technology is getting more sophisticated and more complicated and more integrated in the day-to-day operations of every company. So while on one breath it seems like, hey, this is so easy, but you really kind of pull back a little bit, you start seeing how complicated all these pieces are and interact with one another. And it just needs to almost step back a second and think about it logically and kind of, hey, what are we doing? What's our real, how we're going to put it together from a goal perspective? And there's so many pieces to it. So it's a lot. So anyway, I can keep going for hours, but I'm going to stop. If you guys have anything else, please jump in here, because I think Matt's kind of give me the, hey, Sandman.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what you said, and that is why it's important to have to have the tools, like we have the planner, and like we have our strategists that work with our customers, because obviously we are the tech experts, and part of the reason that we work with customers is that we partner with them and we want to be that partner for you. So it's important to have that discussion and talk about the overall and not just the day-to-day.
Correct. Just get deep. Just get deep into it. And we always see the customers that the deeper they get, the clients, the people that we get really truly partner with, we see the end result, and just that this becomes a thing of de-stress the whole IT piece of it, because it is a stressor. It's hard. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. So it's one of those things. So, all right. So thank you all. This is a great live stream. I'm really excited about it. I think like all good conversations, you have more questions than you have answers at the end of it. So that makes me really excited. And please like and subscribe. Check out our website, The Valiant Way. We're constantly putting new content up there. Marianne's constantly putting knowledge-based articles, blog articles. There's just tons of stuff on there, social everywhere, which is really be really helpful. And if you have questions, please send it to us. We will absolutely answer your question or do a live stream around it, because if you're asking the question, other people are asking the same question. Maybe they'd be too afraid to ask it. So we want to get that out there. And just as I said earlier at the top of the stream, really excited. Our 50th stream. This is a completely insane thing that kind of came out of COVID that we started doing just as like, hey, how do we communicate with people in this time? And we just want to keep doing it. So we're not even sure what we're going to talk about next week, but it's number 50. So we're going to be out there. It's just going to be exciting. We have a
bunch of ideas. We just got to, vote.
It can get pretty democratic, and that's for voting, and then madness. There you go, Matt. Thank you. Maybe Matt can show up. We'll see the stash. I'm putting. There he is. Hey, Matt. He's muted, so he's being good. He's running the board. Thank you.
There, I'm centered now. Hey guys.
All right, perfect.
All right. Well, now that I'm here, let's end this. Let's end the stream.
All right, very good. All right,
like,
everyone,
share, subscribe. Visit us on YouTube. We just broke 100, subscribers, because there are at least 100 people out there who know exactly what's going on and are informed in this small bit of technology.
There it is.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's very exciting.
All right, guys. Excellent stream. I almost feel bad that I broke into it just now, but that's a great thing.
No
honestly,
apologies.
Hearing 50 streams is exciting. We're gonna have to do something. There's gonna be like a cake, or maybe we can get a celebrity.
Confetti.
Some confetti. That's what I was going to say.
Maybe a card that never stops playing.
Well, if you have ideas for our 50th stream,
just check it out.
submit them in the questions box or put a comment on this video.
How great would it be if we said something like, "Hey, Michael Rappaport, come on, let's talk." Okay.
I'm sure he's available on Cameo. All right. We'll talk to you all later. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye now.